Hello and welcome Learn2Code students to part 2 of lesson number 2. Today we're going to be talking about how we can build a Flappy Bird game. And if you actually look carefully at the screen, you'll see that our bird does not really move from that kind of area of the screen. And that's because the background is what's moving and the bird just stays in the one position. So now that you know that, it's the background objects that are moving and the bird just moves up and down based on our taps. You actually know all the things you need to know to make a Flappy Bird game. And the funny thing is, you could actually use what we've done in Hopscotch previously. You could actually use all that knowledge when we did the Frogger game or the Crossy Road game and apply it to build the Flappy Bird version. Because I am so nice, I am actually going to give you some advice for how you can start off Flappy Bird. So just to make it easy, I'm going to choose the bird. We could choose a different emoji. Now, the first thing that we spoke about is we said that the bird stayed in the one position. I'm going to make that position about here. And what I mean by that is it stayed in the 1x position. The bird doesn't move across the screen. It's the background that moves across the screen. So I'm clicking add a value. And first of all, if we don't tap the screen, our bird is continuously falling down. And I'm going to make change y by -25, which means that the bird will move down. So when I press the play, my bird moves down by -25. As we've spoken about previously, we're going to have to wrap that in a repeat block, in a loop. And loops are really, really important in programming. They're pretty much what they enable us to do is repeat a block of code numerous times without having to actually manually do that. So repeat forever, change y by 25, and my bird will gradually fall down to the ground, which is cool. That's what I want. Now I need to add in the rule that when the iPad's tapped, the bird's actually going to move up. And it kind of depends on exactly like how specific you want your game to be. But I kind of do this roughly 300 for when the iPad's tapped. And for the move down, I actually change things up a little bit. And I like putting in a wait block there. And I make it wait about half a second. So if you look here, I think, that's going to be way, way off. I'm going to make it wait less than that. I'll make it actually move less than that, 200. So let's press play there, and our bird, it moves up and down, and that's way too off. So I think, and this is where I kind of just play around with these and see what happens. I think wait 500 is way too big. I'm going to say 100 milliseconds. Yeah, and that's kind of annoying enough for the moment, and that will do for now. We might want to edit that a little bit later on to get it a little bit better once we've added in the other elements of our game to make it a bit more difficult and a bit more fun to play. But next, we need to add in our pipes. And we're going to do that again with emojis. I think the ones that I like for this, I can't remember where they are, but they're kind of like the carnival looking ones. Yeah, I like adding those. And I probably will add about 10 of them. Something like that, 2, 4, 6, 8, yeah, it's roughly 10. And first of all, I'm going to program those that when the play button's tapped, they turn. I'm going to make them turn 90 degrees, so then they look more like that. Now I need to think about where I want them on my screen. I want my first one down here somewhere. I probably want it to start at a certain position. So I'm actually going to set that position. And from experience, you might play around with your positions, but I want the X to be off the screen. So it's going to be 1100X. And the Y, I'm actually going to do something a little bit tricky. You'll notice that in Flappy Bird, the pipes change and the gap between the pipes change. So I want that to happen in my game. So I'm going to say random, and I'm going to make it, pick a random number between -150y and 150y. No, I don't want another random inside the random. I need to get rid of that. 150y. So If we press play, my thing is off the screen, which is what I want. Now, I don't actually need to add in a new program for this. I'm just going to do a repeat forever block because I know I want something to repeat. And what that is going to be is changing x by a negative number. Let's just say 80 for the moment. So you'll see that the pipe moved across the screen, but then it got stuck at that side of the screen, which we've had to deal with previously. And the way that we are going to deal with that is with a rule inside our pipe. And that rule is, as you'll remember from the Frogger game, when the pipe bumps the edge of the screen, we want something to happen. What do we want to happen? Give you a clue. It's going to be setting its position, and we're going to do the same position as before. That's not going to work. Go click on Y, go random, and from memory it was negative 150Y to positive 150Y. And this, we might change this later to make our game a little bit more difficult, but that's what I want you to start with. So let's press play. And why hasn't that worked? That is a good question. And I have a feeling that we're going to have to actually do what we did before because for some reason it doesn't like the positioning that we're giving our sprite. So we're going to say when the pipe's x position is less, and I'm going to make it less than 50, then set this position. So this should work now. So, yep, so our pipes will continuously move across the screen. Now, I need to add in another pipe, and this is where we're going to talk about a new concept that's called using abilities. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think that's 10 if I can count. And we're going to look at these first. What parts of my code can I repeat for the top pipe? Because it gets repetitive and it wastes my time if I'm continuously dragging out blocks. So we have these things called abilities, and I'm going to call this ability pipes. Pipe 1, because it's going to be the first ability that I want for my pipe. I might have more. I drag this ability out. And now I need to think about which blocks I can reuse on the top pipe. Which part of my program can I reuse? Set position X to 1000 and random Y, I can't actually use because the Y position is going to be different. But I can use turn 90 degrees because I want it to turn 90 degrees. And I can also use the repeat forever block. So because I want that pipe to move in a negative direction forever. So I've made this ability called pipe 1 and now it's available here and that's the code inside it. So now I can go up to my top block and I can say when the play button is tapped, do pipe 1. But all that's going to do for the moment is it'll spin my pipe and it's kind of going to move just from where it was. So I actually need to go in there and above that pipe 1, like we did for the other one, we're going to set the position and I'm going to give it the same X position. And for Y, we're going to do randoms, but we're going to go from random 950, and that's going to be off the screen, to let's go 750. Yes. Oh, yeah, we'll just go 750 for the moment. Don't want that. Go 750. Click the tick. Now let's see how that works. So our pipes are moving together, but that pipe gets stuck there. So this might be, let's go back to our first pipe and let's have a look at what we did here. We said when the X position is less than 50, can we use that as an ability? No, not really, because we've got this random Y and our random Y, we want a different range. So we're going to go into here. I'm going to do the same thing. When this pipe's X position is less than 50, I'm going to set position X to 1000 or 100 and Y, pick random, and I think I did 950 to 750. And as I said before, we can change those values later. So here we've got our pipes moving, and they're moving nice and well. We've got our bird moving. But there's one little glitch, or not a glitch. We haven't programmed one thing, and that's with our bird. So the first thing that I want is if my pipes get to that side of the screen, I obviously want a score, just like we did before. So first thing I'm going to add in is a score. Done. And I'm going to put that score somewhere like there. And then I'm going to add in the number 0. That's going to be, the number 0 is actually what we're going to make show the score. Score is just kind of a placeholder. It shows us where the score will go. Now what I'm going to do, I could use either pipe. When I think about it, what's the event that actually makes my score happen? And when we stop and think about it, the event that makes my score happen is the screen. And that's when the pipe's X position is less than 50. I want the score to change then. I want my Flappy Bird to get 1. So I'm going to go into values, set value. I'm going to add a new value here, and we're going to call it score. And I'm going to set score to, oh, actually, I lie. We are going to increase score by 1. Okay, so if we press play, my score should go up, but it's not going up. Why is it not going up? Because we haven't programmed it to go up yet. We need to add a rule to this 0 like we did before. So if we go into here, I'm going to go when the play button is tapped, and I want this program to run forever. So it's going to repeat forever. I'm going to set the text to the value, and I need to go and find score. Need to make sure I'm in the right pipe. There it is, score. Click tick, click play, and now that 0 should change to the score. Oh, and it does. How lovely. But there's a couple of problems. First of all, when we restart our game, or when we get hit by the pipes, nothing much is happening. And we're going to do a couple of things. The first thing is I'm going to add a ground to my game. And I'm just going to go across into flowers. I'm going to pick some grass. I'll add like that many of those. And I'm going to drag those down to the bottom of the screen. Add a rule when the play button is tapped. And you guys can take a little bit of time to make this a little bit prettier than mine. I'll say 200%. Let's play it. Let's see how our grass is looking. Yep, perfect. That's what I want. The reason why I did that is because I want to make it really easy. There's 3 ways that my Flappy Bird is game over. It hits the ground, or it hits one of the 2 pipes. So when I'm going to go into here, and I'm going to say when Flappy Bird, the parrot, bumps anything. So it doesn't matter what it bumps, I want this to happen. And the first thing that I want to happen, I'm going to set value, and it's not the parrot's value, it's this guy's value of score to 0. And the next thing that, well, actually, I could just leave it like that. We're just going to make a simple version of our game to begin with. So score goes up, score goes up. Awesome, it's working how I want. If I get hit by this pipe, score goes to 0. And there's a kind of a glitch there because it goes to 0, and then I get the point for when the pipe reaches the other side. So we're going to have to do a couple of things to do that. But what I want you to think about first of all is the extra things that you could add to your game. So you can make this a little bit more like Flappy Bird. Okay, in here we had increase the pipe score by 1 if the X position was less than 50. But that's not exactly what we want, because if Flappy Bird actually gets hit, we don't want it to increase. So we've got this block here, and it's the first time I've introduced you to it, and it's called check once if. And what we're going to say, we're going to check once if, no we're not,